What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Celtics Talk Weekly Postgame Show. I'm your host, Robbie Haytayan. Joined with me are my three co-hosts. You know these guys, Nick Franco, Andrew Quinn, and Seamus Zarlingo. Guys, the Boston Celtics move past the Orlando Magic tonight and win the Eastern Conference first round 4-1 with a 120-89 blowout win at the TD Garden. Guys, it feels like a breath of fresh air getting past this Orlando team and what was a very interesting 5 games. I can't wait to talk about it and put these guys behind us. You guys know the drill here. Our initial thoughts, reactions, takeaways on tonight's game, and I also should add the series as a whole.
We don't have to talk about the Orlando Magic anymore. You're telling me?
We do. We got another hour and a half, and then we're done.
We've been covering the series through and through, and we knew it was going to be a dogfight from the series preview because we knew that Orlando was going to bring it on the defensive end, and we knew it was going to be a physical series, but to the extent that Orlando brought it to was beyond expectations. So being able to survive a physical series like that and also being able to escape that series early and not allowing this to go on to a extended series, which would be 6 or 7 games, is a huge advantage for the Celtics. If you look around the NBA, you're seeing our neighbor teams in the playoffs, the New York Knicks and Detroit Pistons, their series has been extended. But at the beginning of this game, it was pretty shaky at the start. You saw Orlando bringing that burst of energy, getting those rotational players in there. Paulo Banchero was pretty much shut out of the game after halftime and really got himself into foul trouble, which kind of dismantled anything that the Orlando Magic had going for him. But once the Celtics got past that first half where they shot a historic low of 6 3-pointers alone and didn't make a single one of them, the Celtics were able to open those floodgates and really surpass the Orlando Magic. The Jaylen Brown in the first half was kind of forcing shots in early situations alongside his teammates. That seemed like the Celtics were just trying to get that spark ignited early and trying to play with a sense of physicality and aggression, establishing a presence down low. And Orlando was able to maintain that throughout the game and out rebounded the Celtics, but the Celtics were able to beat the Orlando Magic in the way that we knew they were going to throughout the series, was with their offensive capabilities, and those offensive capabilities begin with Jason Tatum.
What an unconventional game to close out this series. In a slew of unconventional games this entire series. The Celtics, looking at the entirety of this Celtics Magic series, just could never get their sea legs under them in terms of their offensive production. They never scored over 110 in the first 4 games, and the Celtics, we came on here time and time again talking about their struggles against the Orlando Magic defense. Well, tonight, it was much of the same in the first half, and it looked like, to close out this series, the Celtics are going to have to do it again. They're going to have to win another game down the stretch, another physical, muck it out, grind it out game against the Orlando Magic with the Orlando Magic season on the line. And let's face it, folks, Paulo Banchero picking up his 5th foul with 9:46 left to go in the third quarter completely changed this game. Completely. The game was tied 53-53 when Paulo Banchero exited the floor with 5 fouls with 9:46 to go in the third quarter. When Paulo Banchero came back into the game, it was the start of the fourth quarter, and the Celtics held an 83-62 lead. The Celtics went on a 30-9 run with Paulo Banchero sitting on the bench, and my goodness, Jamal Mosley could not have fumbled this game any further in that third quarter because in a crucial moment, Paulo Banchero was not out on the floor. And Jamal Mosley, we understand head coaches in these situations. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to try to preserve their best player for the final stretch of games, crunch time of games, the most important moment of a game. But because Paulo Banchero was off the floor for such an elongated period of time, that was the most important part of the game in which Paulo Banchero didn't even see the floor for. And that was the fault of Jamal Mosley, also Paulo Banchero himself picking up those 5 fouls. And he picked up about, what, three in a 2 minute time frame to start the second half. It was just absolutely ridiculous how how fast Paulo Banchero went from being an active player in this game to sitting because of foul trouble. But that changed the entire complexity of this game for the Celtics, because all of a sudden when Paulo Banchero went to the bench, the Celtics, they were back to their mismatch hunting ways. Cole Anthony came into the game, Gary Harris came into the game, Corey Joseph, his minutes, the Magic continued Corey Joseph's minutes, and all three of those players, the Celtics felt 100% comfortable attacking via mismatches. And you saw it with Jason Tatum, you saw it with Jaylen Brown, and you saw the Orlando Magic. They changed up their defense to the point where the Celtics, they found those open 3-point shots in the second half. And you see the Celtics, it looks like a typo. The Celtics, they shoot 13 of 24 from three, only 24 3-point attempts tonight. And that number is even more impressive considering the Celtics shot 13 of 18 from three in the second half. In the first half, the Celtics, Franco, you already mentioned it, they only shoot 6 threes in the first half, miss all of them. And that kind of showed, we've been talking about this conversation of, oh, can the Celtics adjust against this Magic defense? That shows the Celtics being unable to adjust against that Magic defense, and the Magic defense holding the Celtics at bay where they wanted to hold the Celtics. Because in that first half, the Celtics, they were killing the Magic in the paint because the Magic, they weren't sending help, they were sending minimal help. And all of the Celtics in which had the ball, whether it was Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they were just left to go one-on-one with open driving lanes to the hole. And the Celtics, they were just going after the two, going after the two, going after the two. That's why we only saw 6 3-point attempts in that first half. But in that third quarter, once Paulo Banchero, the Magic's best player, went out of the game, I mean, first of all, the scoring the Magic missed within that time frame was evident. The playmaking the Magic missed was evident, but also just the defensive ability to match the Celtics out on the floor. Once Paulo Banchero went out of the game, once he sat on the bench, the Orlando Magic no longer had the pieces to match up with the Celtics defensively, and which has been such a key point all series long. I already mentioned it, some of the guards who were out there, but the Celtics, those 3-point shots opened up for the Celtics. They went crazy there at the end of that third quarter, beat the Magic 36-13 in that third quarter. And that was pretty much all she wrote. I mean, Jamal Mosley kept Banchero on the bench the entirety of those 9 minutes. And it was pretty much inexcusable with the Magic's season on the line. That was definitely a gaffe. It's not the biggest gaffe in the world, knowing, yes, you can mess up like that as a head coach, especially when the avalanche of threes like the Celtics committed out on the floor comes at you so fast. However, the Magic season, it was on the line right there. And when it was getting out of hand, I mean, it should not have mattered that Paulo Banchero had 5 fouls. He should have been out there once it was getting from 10 to 14 to 15. And then eventually it was 21 going into that fourth quarter. And by that time, when you're down 21 and you're this Magic team who tonight, look, they didn't score over 100 points in this entire series. They scored exactly 100 once. Once they scored exactly 100. The rest of the games, they don't score over 100. And tonight, they don't even score over 90. 89 points for the Magic. In a situation like that, where you know you're not an offensively capable team, and the score and the margins are getting completely out of hand from yourself, and you're letting the rope go. At that point, it's all hands on deck. And unfortunately, the Magic and Jamal Mosley realized that too late. And that's where the Celtics gained every advantage in this game, because up to that point, before Paulo Banchero had 5 fouls and needed to sit down on the bench, it was a 53-53 ball game. The Magic were winning all the margins in which the Magic needed to win in order to pull out yet another game in this series. They were winning the turnover battle. They were winning the second chance points battle. They were winning the rebounding battle. They were winning all of the marginal battles in which we've talked about all series long. The Magic need to win in order to win games in this series. The field goal attempt discrepancy, even at the end of the game. I mean, this is just, it's absolutely amazing looking at some of the numbers at the end of the game, because the Celtics still finished with less shots than the Orlando Magic, yet beat them by 31 points tonight. And that just shows you some of the barrage of 3-point shooting the Celtics committed down the stretch. But this one, it wasn't close. It felt like this was going to be another grinded out, seriously hard-nosed physical game at the end, all the way to the end. And we were going to come in here and say, oh, the Magic, they fought right down until the last second, but the Celtics were able to take it over. Well, that's not what we talked about. That's not what we're going to talk about at all tonight, because the Celtics absolutely blew out the Magic in that second half, absolutely blew them out in the third quarter, and Paolo Banchero sitting on the bench had everything to do with it. The Celtics, you want to give them praise for what they were able to do when the mismatches were out there for the Magic, and once the Magic started to break down. But this game had everything to do with the fact that Paolo Banchero, a true superstar in the making, I would say, for the Orlando Magic, 100,000%. Paulo Banchero is a superstar in the making. What he was able to do in this series, what he's been able to do in the limited time he's played this season because of the oblique injury and some other injuries he sustained, he is just phenomenal. And you saw in that third quarter when he went out of the lineup, the Magic were completely lost. The Celtics completely pounced on it, and we saw a version of the Celtics team that we hadn't seen in really 2 weeks since since those Charlotte Hornets games back to back to end the season. Every single game in this series has been back and forth, grinded out, physical. Even game one, when the Celtics won by 17 points, that was a game that felt like the Magic, they were hanging around there until late in the second half. Tonight was a different story. The Celtics finally, near the end of that game, did exactly everything they wanted to do in this series, and the Magic, they couldn't make it up within the little margins of the game in which they were trying to win, such as field goal attempts, rebounding, second chance points, all of the little extra things, turnovers, like I mentioned. All those things didn't matter at the end when the Celtics, they shoot 13 of 18 from 3-point land in the second half, and absolutely put away the Magic in such an efficient manner. Again, the fact that Celtics did not take as many shots as the Magic tonight, yet blew them out by 31, certainly tells you something about that second half, especially when the Celtics were trailing at halftime. And I believe we do have a tweet for this as well. The Celtics, that's NBA history, folks. The winning margin of 31 points is the largest ever in a playoff game after trailing at half. So we have our Dick Light stat here of the night. Golden State had a 29-point win against Houston in 2018 after trailing at half by 10. I believe that was game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, if I'm not mistaken. That's where Houston had a chance to close it out in Golden State, and then game 6 Clay came over and took over in the third quarter. So the Celtics putting themselves amidst elite company yet again, other championship teams of the past. One of the biggest wins in NBA history for the Celtics, the biggest win in NBA history for the Celtics after trailing at half. So mighty impressive for the season. Of course, these series, I'll say this too, not always easy to win these series. In the past, took 7 games against the Milwaukee Bucks. We saw against the Chicago Bulls in 2017, lost the first 2 there, needed to win in 6. And these kind of series, I'm just saying, the first round, they're gimmies nowadays for the Celtics, but they're not always easy. And to make it into that top 8 in the NBA to end the season is certainly an accomplishment. Obviously, the Celtics won a lot more with their season here, but just to make it to that point, there's certainly something to celebrate right now before the Celtics get back to work. Who knows, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whoever it'll be between the Knicks and the Pistons.
Yeah, I think I agree with the fact how we were able to recover and able to adapt to the game, because we weren't hitting our threes. We were kind of stagnant on the offensive end. Our ball movement wasn't as impressive as past games, but our ability to adapt and drive and attack and take what the Magic was giving us just shows that we are we are a better team than the Magic, just in all facets, because we can play their game and still stay with them. And then I really love the fact that we were able to then go back to our game, knock down threes beyond the arc, hit at a high clip, and just really, really punish the Magic finally and get over that hump of having them stay within reach. So I'm just happy to see that the Celtics were able to withstand the physicality and really just show the league that we were the better team in this series and that we have the capability to do this to other teams. And then I just want to highlight Tatum too. I mean, Tatum was just crazy impressive, averaging 31 points this season, I mean, averaging 31 points this series on maybe 11-ish rebounds or something like that. I mean, just Tatum's ability to withstand that high level of play despite being injured and just take over this series and lead the Celtics to a 4-1 series. I just think it's amazing to see Tatum's development, and I'm very excited to see how he continues to grow and impact the Celtics as the playoffs continue.
I thought this was the most impressive playoff game the Celtics have played under this core group of guys. And I think what was most impressive about it was the fact they only took 9 threes in that first half, because a lot of people looked at that and thought to themselves, they haven't made any threes. But I'm sitting there thinking, Boston is adapting. Boston is taking what Orlando is giving them. They're not forcing. They are trying to get to the rim. They are playing their game, because Boston knew if you stick with it, if you get to the paint, eventually those shots will show up, those open looks. And once you get into a rhythm, once you get into a flow, at some point this series, it was due to happen. The floodgates will open. And that is exactly what happened. So Boston's ability to adapt to the game. They only took 24 threes tonight, and they were selective and smart with each and every single one. I have always said it on this show. It is not about the quality, or it's not about the quantity of threes. It is about the quality. If Boston is taking 50 wide open threes, I am a-okay with that over them taking 25 contested step back threes. Tonight, they took 24 great looks outside of that Kristaps Porzingis random half-court shot he threw up there early in the first quarter. But outside of that, 23 great wide open looks tonight from the Celtics. That was super, super impressive. Their ability just to stick with it and adapt to the game. I thought Jaylen Brown looked really good tonight. From an athletic standpoint, I thought defensively and offensively, he looked like he had that extra step again. He looked, quick on defense with his slides, and I think that was reassuring, knowing now Brown can have a couple extra days rest in what should be the most physical series behind him. And then, I mean, Andrew, you nailed it. Jason Tatum happened. I mean, this was one of the most impressive games we had seen out of Jason Tatum in his playoff tenure. 35, 8 and 10. We're going to talk about him later on in the show. I mean, he was ridiculous tonight, a plus 34 in 34 minutes. I mean, 35 points on 16 shots. I mean, he was just dominating in every facet of the game tonight. And he was a key part to what the Celtics were doing in their ability to get past Orlando night. Also, I want to highlight the bench. 29 bench points from the three guys off the bench: Cornette, Hauser, and Pritchard. 10 from Hauser, 10 from Pritchard, 9 from Cornette. Very efficient. 3 for 3 from Luke, 4 for 4 from Hauser, 4 of 8 from Pritchard. Just very pleased with those guys. I thought that was huge. I think Orlando's bench kind of been out hustling them and outplaying them this series. And I think game 5 tonight in that second half, they were able just to open up the floodgates and find ways to contribute. Hauser had been a guy that had struggled through those first 3 games. He kind of got his footing a little bit underneath him last game in game 4. Tonight, he looked much more comfortable coming off those screens, knocking down a couple threes. Obviously, the dagger in that corner from Jason Tatum's for his 10th assist. Let's take a look at the lead tracker real quick here, guys. The Sea of Green's back, and it was as big as we have seen it this season, guys. Orlando led in this game at the midway point of the second quarter. They led by their largest lead of the night, 9 points, guys. The Celtics, that's not a typo. Seamus, you already talked about it with that stat. They led by as many as 34 points this game, guys. That sea of green just absolutely taking over. As soon as Paolo Banchero picked up his 5th foul, it was all Celtics from there on out.